Thank you, everybody. I'm Robert Parker, the CTO of SmartThings, and together with Jay, we're going to try a little bit of a different format for this. So Jay and I are going to go back and forth to give you two different pairs of eyes on the same cloud.
All right. Hi. My name is Jae-Jun Lee. I'm the Vice President of the Samsung Electronics Mobile Division. I run the product and the cloud R&D team. All right.
All right. Let's get started. We really have been excited, and you've probably heard this too many times today at this point, that we're introducing the SmartThings Cloud. It's the next stage in the evolution for Samsung of a single IoT cloud. As you've heard previously in the keynote, this is really the connective fabric that works across all of Samsung's cloud. And in order to do that, it starts with the leading device ecosystem. This ecosystem is the world's broadest, and we invite anyone to come and participate.
Yeah, so I think I've been working closely with Robert for the last 2 years now, so kind of working on the inception of the idea of bringing cloud together. And it took us about a year to get that launched at the launch of our S8 device. And now we are really excited to introduce this one concept expanding onto the Arctic and the other ecosystem there that we are bringing together. So so that's where we are today. Let's go to next.
And what we have highlighted before is that this isn't just about connecting devices. So we bring voice, we bring AI, and we're bringing in other clouds. So that can be Harman for auto. We're bringing in the enterprise functionality from Arctic. And through cloud-to-cloud connection, actually the rest of the ecosystem.
Yep, so next slide. So as I said, this is a single unified solution that integrates all of these things that we talked about with the service of the voice, and then with a single application, currently named as a Samsung Connect application, which will be renamed to be a SmartThings App. And then it will have a plug-in concept for the developers, and it will have the abilities for other developers to develop solutions using the API. And then one of the big thing here is this the voice and intelligence built in. Let me just have Robert explain a little more on that.
So if we start at many of the other solutions that you've seen, often as you add a voice, you have to install a skill, you have to pick the right one, you often have to permission it, you enter a whole bunch of credentials. It's a fairly long process for a user just to get whatever voice system that you're using, be it Google's, be it Amazon's, be it Bixby, to work with, say, your Hue light bulb or whatever. And what we've really done is we looked at that and said, that just doesn't work for people. We really want to make it as simple, just like we did for connecting devices, where all you had to do is have it automatically discover that there are devices there that could be controlled, prompt the user and say, would you like to allow this to happen? If you do, then you enable it, and they start to work together. And this is going to be really a giant step forward in simplifying a lot of the interactions. The other part of it that we've done is we've really worked not only in our own system, but across the ecosystem to simplify the interactions. So an example of this is we worked with Amazon, so you don't have to say, ask SmartThings to blah, 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 blah. You can just say, Alexa, good night, or Alexa, good morning. And we've done that by creating more APIs, which allow them to understand more about our system and integrate in this much more natural way. So a lot of this was the cloud from day one enables you, as people who are building on the cloud, to really express these intents in a way that then can be surfaced naturally.
Yeah, so well, as it stated here, like it's a global infrastructure at scale. So we've actually provided this cloud, which is not just the cloud here, as we explained, but there is a scalable solution that can have regional infrastructures in multiple different locations to provide to the demand that could come from any place. And the simplified maintenance and users complex environment. By that, what we mean is that we are announcing the global developer program today, and then which we'll be explaining more detail in the next slide. And then for that, you have a portal where we'll give you all the information on what's available, and then we will be also providing tools to support that developer ecosystem so that you will have tools to build your applications going forward.
Great. As we shift into developers, right now you say we're moving from the ecosystem to what does this mean for developers? We wanted to share what were some of the things that we thought about as we wanted to bring these APIs and these capabilities to developers. We started with a concept that it should be easy to get started writing code. And beyond easy, we wanted you to have choice. So we've opened it up to all programming languages. That way, if you have some set of solutions that are written in a particular framework, you don't have to go and as a first step, rewrite that just so that you can participate. We really enable this to be accessed in any way. Similarly, for the tools that you're using, you don't have to change your tools. We do provide some really exciting tools, and we'll get to some of that. But overall, we wanted to lower the friction of getting started, making it really easy for developers to get started writing code. The second major component for us was to take it and make it easier for you to not have to worry about specific devices, specific interactions. So we have created a common sets of functionality, which we call capabilities, which really codify this. But taken one more step, we've opened this up. You can extend existing capabilities. You, the developers, can extend capabilities. You can invent new capabilities. And all of this happens through a managed ecosystem that's very much like an app store. But because of this, it allows you to build upon the work of others. And that's one of the big themes that we have. I'm going to let Jay talk a bit more about how we see open.
Yeah, so let's go to the next slide. So I think this capability that we are building, we are giving you, is that one of the things that people are finding it very difficult is how to connect your device to the cloud. Right? So we're going to make this very, very intuitive. Right? So as the new things are discovered by our mobile devices and by our other things, we will have a preloaded applications that when it becomes available, that it'll detect and it'll seamlessly connect to the cloud, and we'll provide that functionality. And then once the things are connected, we're going to have this the management console with the ability to analyze the data, providing the analytics on the data, so that the users can provide services that has more meaningful insights about who you are, what the device is, what your context is, and then we'll provide that insights for your ecosystem.
Having some of this data was really one step to preventing faults or problems. So one of the things that's been really a challenge in IoT is not just getting things working, but keeping them working. And so part of that, the management console allowed you to understand some of the things that are going wrong in users' environments. But the next step beyond that, we have an adaptive transport, so we can allow you to mitigate some of those failures. And a lot of that would happen from a capability that we have for edge local execution. What this means is whether you have a hub, whether you have a router, whether you have a television, you'll have some device which is capable of executing locally. That can mitigate a lot of the failures that might happen. So if you lose connectivity from your router with the internet, you can still turn off an alarm. You can still be woken up by a different time-based alarm. We can go through all the types of things that you can mitigate. One of our favorite demos is one where you'll lose both the internet and the power. It'll fail back to battery backup. In battery backup, it'll do things like shut off your water pipes and take other preventative measures. But for developers, what we're letting you do in this adaptive transport is to think through some of those rules and push those rules out locally to the edge where they can be executed, all of which is targeted around really being able to make this way more resilient for customers. And we see that this has been one of the biggest adoption blockers for many partners, is that the solutions are fragile. So we are providing a set of primitives to help keep them working in what we call an adverse environment, which is people's home. Moving right along to the sort of programming model, it wouldn't be a surprise to anyone. I mean, our programming API is a standard REST-based API with access over HTTPS. Security has been built in from day one. So one of the natural questions is, how is this different from some of the other APIs Samsung has provided in the past, one of which is SmartThings. There's also the Smart Home protocol. A couple of things are different. One of them is that we've standardized. So in the past, often there might have been more than one way to do things. Second one for SmartThings is that there is an API, and you don't have to have a smart app in order to participate. So what that gives you is the opportunity to be able to both directly issue commands and directly get data without a proxy in the middle. That simplifies a lot of things. Beyond that, we've opened up the capability model. Previously in SmartThings, you had to contact us if you wanted to introduce a new capability. And we've brought in a lot more functionality. So we've brought in enterprise functionality from Arctic. We've brought in some other domains. All of this gives you a lot more primitives to work from as a developer. And you can do all this with the tools that you're used to.
Yeah, and then as you said, let's go back. So we are adding more functionality, right, by embracing and by putting together the Arctic the functionality. So Arctic has other connectivity capabilities. So we'll be adapting that into our ecosystem. So you will have more than just what we used to have, and then bring in more. And then as we will be working closely with on another cloud infrastructure, the Harman's Ignite. For the mostly for the automotive industry and then other industry verticals, we'll be also adapting the capabilities from that ecosystem and then building it into our echo.
I think one more thing that we should add is a lot of people may have started with some of the APIs we already have, and you might be worried, will my solution continue to work? I want to put your mind at rest and at ease. We believe in compatibility. What you've written will continue to work. It's more about when you want to exercise some of these new capabilities, that's when you'll shift to the new, because we aren't making those available in the old. But existing solutions, we are not doing a forcible transition. We believe that both our customers and our partners are really interested in having that peace of mind that things will continue to work. If we dive a little bit deeper into the API, some of the things that we think differentiate this system is that we have a very fine-grained subscription model. This allows you to, for example, have something that might be a battery life solution. In that person would not have access to understanding, hey, is a lock locked or unlocked, even if I was able to monitor the battery level on that device. This also can be done without a smart app. So one of the things that is kind of cool is you can subscribe to it right on your laptop. You can write some code right on your laptop, or you can debug all by yourself and really see the whole interaction, both without a smart app and local. Using these capabilities, you can create some really sophisticated automations, and some of the other demos that we have today will show that. One other part of this is the fine-grained authorization scopes and some of the permissioning that we have. You can either grant permissions at a slightly broader level at the capability level, and in that can still not necessarily, in the examples that I've shown, span the entire device. And that's really one of the key differentiators from many other systems. Usually you're permissioned for a device or you're not. And that doesn't really allow people to create services that human beings want to consume. So you might want to have an energy service, and I'm comfortable with that, but I want other things to be private. And so that's really a lot of what we've done to sort of limit the blast radius. I'm going to turn it over to Jay to talk a little bit about security.
Yeah. So I don't know how many of you actually came to our cloud panel sessions and whatnot, but as part of this ecosystem merge, I think one of the things that we really took into our heart was to make sure that there is a secure platform and secure solution to all these things that's getting connected, right? So as part of our foundation guidelines for the developers, we provided what we have already built within our mobile and our our different GBM solutions, the enterprise-grade security solutions, we brought it to the consumers, right? So all those are things that we have already built as part of our security infrastructure. We brought it into as a guidelines to the developers that are developing developing new devices and new things, and also into the cloud that we have built those logics into so that the security is embedded from the ground up as we started building this ecosystem.
Great. I previously mentioned that we had an open capability model, but I wanted to give a few more details. So we've defined 80 capabilities, or a little more than 80 capabilities to start things off, because we already know about a lot of devices that are out there. And so this gives a nice basis for you to really expose many of the functionality that are available in your device. And if you had something like a car, for example, lights and locks just work on the platform already, even though we had not thought about a car at all when those were being created. And then this then extends into this open invitation where we have a life cycle around these new capabilities. So you can propose a capability, you can develop a capability, other people can start using this, and this really allows you to have a workflow around having others build upon some of the things and some of the work that you've done to enable functionality. We think that this is really key to services, especially as people are doing that. Another half of that equation is really unique devices. And in this case, you have things that you say, it isn't really standard. It's something that's really particular to my device, and I want to be able to expose that in ways that people can program against it, but it's still unique. And we have sets of solutions to really support that, both our SmartThings OCF, which is something that we've done internally so that all of our devices really talk in an open, connected way, which follows a standard. And also we have some things that we've done for some of the uniqueness in the enterprise that works together to have a great solution for you for unique devices. You can express those capabilities in a way that others can discover, others can program against, and in general, you can create a solution that's reliable even if the device that it's working with is quite bespoke. To talk a little bit more and dive deep into OCF, I was going to invite Jay to talk about Samsung devices and how this has worked for Samsung devices.
Yeah, so I think there are a couple different ways that we're going to provide capabilities to connect things. And but the first thing that we are going to do is that we have a direct connectivity to the cloud, right? So the things which have Wi-Fi or the wireless connectivity, we'll be able to find our endpoints and then connect directly to the cloud with the guidance of if there's a mobile phone or another device that can provide the extra capabilities, but nonetheless, there'll be a direct connection. Used to be there needed to be a hub of some sort that you connect through, but the one thing that we're going to do with an OCF from SmartThings Cloud, that the things will be able to connect directly to our cloud.
And if those things are connecting directly, one of the natural questions you might have is security. Built into the standard is a minimum level of support for security that you have to have. You have to have a hardware secure element, and we have to be able to really reliably understand that really is the device that we expect. So we've built in a lot of those controls in there so that we can achieve what Jay is talking about, of really getting that direct connection. But this allows you to really provide a really seamless experience for those devices without requiring quite as much. Brings us now to sort of automation and intelligence. The beyond, if we looked at being able to connect those devices, being able to control those devices, the natural next step is to really be able to do things with them that are interesting. And one of the things that we've been really focused on is the fact that we've seen across the ecosystem a lot of these evolutionary integrations. So people started with an integration, they started automating something. I'll give you one example of this would be smart lighting, where it's an application that watches how you control your lights, and then when you're on vacation, plays an adaptive variant of that so that it makes it seem like you're home. And solutions like this often start working really well, but then as you add a device or things change either in the firmware or in clouds that do that, that solution works less well and less well and less well over time. And so one of the things that we've done is we've created some automated governance of this and some mechanisms that allow you to build in anomaly detection, other things that would allow you to make sure that a solution like that, and when you have a smart app that's running like this, that it's able to continue to operate over time. And so that's been one of the challenges that we've seen with the automation. The other challenge that we've seen traditionally with automations is that they often don't work together seamlessly towards a goal. And one of the best examples of this was arming your home. There's only one person or service that should be able to determine whether your home state is armed. So if you had an Arlo camera, it's probably not the Arlo camera that's going to be able to decide, it's your ADT service. But you want those things to, when you armed your home, you want to be able to have that device participate. You'd also like an arming sequence to be able to skip those devices or not skip those devices as part of the user, but it's contributing into these higher level workflows has been something that really hasn't been part of other clouds. You might be able to pass the command along in a generic way, like the ARM command might go from one device to another and it could selectively decide whether to participate, but you couldn't do a real ARM sequence, which would be more like you do now, where you'd say, oh, that camera failed to ARM, skip it, yes, no, but still get into the ARM state and actually no. So what we've done is really added some things into the API that allow these disparate systems to work together towards goals. And that's one of the key differentiators of the SmartThings Cloud over other clouds is an attempt to up-level some of these primitives so that it actually is smart. Smart Apps 2.0, which we've launched today, and we invite you to start trying this. The main difference, which I had sort of highlighted before, is that it's language agnostic now. You can create these with the tools of your own choice. You can build, run, and test them locally. And this, we really think, increases the speed at which developers can actually build things because you have way more freedom of what frameworks to use. You have lots of more ways to get started. And you can see what's going wrong. One of the biggest challenges for developers is usually opaqueness in several parts of the system. So you might have to upload your code into something. How many people here have used AWS Lambda? See, lots of people. So how many people have had issues that they really wish they could have debugged because they didn't really know what the Lambda was doing? Or maybe the rest of you just put in a lot of debug statements. So this is where we feel like this is a real advantage because you'll be able to bring it right down, understand exactly what's happening. And by the way, with these smart apps, you can still run it in a Lambda. So we actually support these clouds and an ability to run your smart app anywhere. It's just that one of the cool things is because you can build and debug it locally, then you can make a lot of that progress fairly quickly. So we're going to run a little video. So one of the things that we wanted to show, that was loud, is what we have here in the video is we'll have a couple of sequences, a couple of vignettes that we'll do. This one, for example, is you're sitting on your couch and you want to lock it. But the integration that we've done here is this is with Facebook Messenger as a chat bot. You can type that single command. What you're seeing is multiple things can happen. This is something that was done very, very easily, but shows you some of the power of the API where not only can you issue all these different commands and the devices can react or participate with them. It can be somewhat adaptive, like we're about to show in movie mode, where a person is saying, hey, I'd like to watch a movie. It really understands what changes to make to the environment to control this. But this is just one example of how you could use something like a chatbot to very quickly unleash the power that's in the API to do some pretty cool stuff. And this was done with Facebook's. Oops. There we go. I'm going to show another one that shows another aspect of this with voice and some things that you can't do with many other competing systems.
Make the brown lamp blue, the torch red, the floor lamp green, the turquoise lamp purple, and turn on the fan.
Five actions were sent to your devices.
When the motion sensor is active, flash the candles red 3 times and play Birthday by the Beatles on Spotify.
Four rules created.
If the Cubs are in scoring position, make the front lights blue and play Go Cubs Go on Spotify.
Five rules created.
So I think with yay. This starts to give you an idea of what the power of what you can do. So a lot of the other, because it's sort of a single integration, you can't do subsequent commands, or because there isn't a natural way to do things like rules, then you find that, really there's not much benefit of a lot of the other APIs over remote control. But I think you can see that the kind of power that you can build with this and these kind of smart applications take it to the next level. Those integrations are pretty cool and really easy to do with the framework that we have. Oops. So this leads into what can you build? That's probably the next question for everyone. We've looked at this segment by segment, so we're going to go through each one.
I'll do device.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first will be the device maker. So let's go to the next slide. So all the device makers, I think as we announced, there will be multiple different things, tools that we'll be providing that you can have, so that you can build your applications, you can build your things that can integrate to our cloud easily, seamlessly. And then to do that, we'll provide a set of guidelines. And also, we'll be also providing what we call a SmartThings developer workspace, where it's an IDE where you can download locally and then be able to, using our SDK, create your things and then debug. And then that workspace will be demoed throughout the conference this week, and then will be made available shortly, and then you should be able to use it to help develop your things more easily.
Great. Beyond device makers, we've really worked to provide a platform that solution providers can use. And an example with this would be a company like ADT, and you can see some of their solution demoed outside, but it really spans the entire space. So one of the things that we provide on the embedded side is an ability to have anything act as a hub, whether that could be an NVIDIA Shield which is also launching shortly with this integration that sort of brings it into the entertainment space, or something that would be like an alarm panel like ADT. And this really brings that set of value to those devices so that all of a sudden they can become more useful to your home. Now by having an alarm panel, you can connect lights and do some of the other things. Spanning from that would be, some changes in the mobile application. You're a service provider, someone has a security service. I want to be able to allow you to manage that and surface the appropriate UI in support of that, going all the way out to the cloud and some of the things that we've already demonstrated. But this is a set of APIs that can really full stack allow you, if you're a service provider, to be able to give a complete solution to people. Instead of sort of saying, you don't want that to feel bespoke. At the end of the day, you want to be able to have something that a customer consumes as a single thing. And that's a lot of what this makes possible for service providers.
So next is our telco partners. I think there is a lot of needs for the regional aspects of our customers. And so our telco partners who has their own IoT infrastructure, or sometimes they don't have infrastructure. So whether they have it or not, whether they use our infrastructure to provide a solution, we are working closely with a few of the global partners to provide initially the smart home technology solutions, and then be able to provide either home security or home automation related services for our telco partners.
One of the last things that we wanted to highlight is that in all those spaces, by the way, you as the developer can build on any one of those solutions. So if we had the security solution and you wanted to build on top of that solution, you'd be able to do that. So it's not just, hey, we can offer a security solution. As each one of these is offered in the cloud, there are ways for you to build on everything that everyone else has. And so that's one of the little bit differentiating aspects of our cloud, is that we have a service directory so that you're able to see all the things that are there. And if that thing exists, you can also build on top of it. Which is why we've focused on making sure that you can use your normal tools, you can get started now. I'm going to let Jay really talk to you about exactly what you can do today in terms of opening up the portal.
So I think we talked about it already, so enough. So I think I really encourage you guys to go to our demo kiosk at the developer section, and also the Stream Code 101 has a nice demo of using a weather as a trigger point to be able to set the different color to your light and things like that. So I hope that you walk around and then get some exposures to those. And then if you have any questions, these are the contact points for both of us here. And then I don't know if we're going to have a chance to have some Q&A. Right? Okay.
There we go. People can walk over to the mic so everyone can hear you, or he'll.
We got a question.
So just now you mentioned the API. I want to ask more about that. So there's a REST API, but how about other ways when talk to a cloud? For example, in IoT, there's MQTT call app. So I was wondering, is any, yeah.
So the question, and I'll repeat it just to make sure people heard, is what about other connectivity mechanisms in IoT, and do you support those as well? We have a generalized idea of a cloud connector, and in that you can support WebSocket, MQTT, a broad range of connected protocols. So those things all exist. One of the sort of challenges for people, though, is that we want to have one way to have an API. And so independent of that, while those connectors can still do things, you'll have some kind of smart application that's managing that connection if you use one of those other protocols. So all the protocols are supported, but at the same time you have the API beside that, which allows you to do the functionality.
Any more questions? All right, I think we're good, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone
who filled out a survey